Hey, what's up, YouTube? The time has come. I am going to attempt to sum up my thoughts of these two trucks, some of the pros and cons of each, and to attempt to explain why it is that I am so torn between the two. So, point number one I'd like to make is that even though these two trucks are in some ways very similar, they are very different. The dually is set up and was pretty much purpose built for the purpose of towing. It's got 410 gears in it. Obviously, being a dually, it's a little more stable with a load behind it. It also has a hybridized ZF5 transmission in it. Basically, what was done is they took a wide ratio ZF5 from a big block and put it in a diesel case, so that first, second, and third gear are all very close together to get a load off the line and get some speed behind you. Then there's a little bit taller step to fourth gear, which is always, of course, straight through, and then you've got your overdrive. So if it just is for towing, the red one probably wins in that category. However, single rear wheel has some benefits. Number one, it's a couple tires less to buy. Number two, I can run a wider tire. I kind of like the stance of these trucks. This one's got 17-inch rims and 285s on it. 285 17s, so I kind of like the stance. And in my opinion, a single rear wheel truck wins off-road, especially if it's muddy. My experience with a dually has been that the back end turns pretty quickly into a roller. You get a little bit of mud packed in there between the duals. It doesn't clear out like it should, and you end up with a big greasy roller there in the back. It doesn't do real well at clearing mud if you get into a greasy spot. So I think single rear wheel wins in that category. Another point that I would say is in favor of the single rear wheel truck is that, man, this one's just pretty well sorted. I've got a couple little nagging issues that need to be done to it. I've got my leather, you can see me there, hello. My leather lariat seats in it. All of the gauges work. The setup just plain works. This truck has got about 50,000 fewer miles on it. Got my radios and things in there. 2-meter and CB. I've got Hydra in this truck, of course. And I like the way this truck is set up. The red truck, on the other hand, has a clean set of stock fabric seats. It's got a ZF, I'm sorry, not a ZF6, but a TS 6-position chip in it. It's got one of these storage shelves in it. Of course, I could swap that if I wanted to. It's got the, what do you call that, a blink mirror? That's what I call it, blink mirror. Some people call it a lane changer. It also has a couple issues with the rear power windows. Power windows in the white truck all work. We've got a wiring issue to the passenger rear window. There's a broken wire between the door jamb and the door itself, so I need to address that, but all of the windows work. Body wise, they both need work. This one's fairly straight. There's a little ding in the door here. I think he had a deer run into the side of the truck there at one point. You can see the clear coat is peeling pretty badly on this truck. It needs paint. White truck needs a bed. I have a bed for it, a nice straight 8-foot bed that I can swap onto it without much trouble. However, it's just in primer, so it's going to need paint as well. So I would say body-wise, the two of them are pretty much a wash. They're both Southern trucks. They're both relatively clean and rust-free. It's not like one of them holds a real advantage in that department or in that regard. Dually fenders on the dually are in pretty good shape. Does need a bumper. Of course, I could put a bumper on it. That's not a problem. They both have Diamond Eye 5-inch turbo back exhaust on them without the muffler. Coincidentally, something of note that I'll get into later when we do a startup on both of these is that they sound completely different. And the reason for that is up front. This red truck has a home-built T4 mount and a Borg-Warner S366 turbo. It's running stage 2 rosewood injectors, which I believe are a 180/30. So it's a little more fuel than this truck, which has stage 1 160 over stock size nozzles. That'd be a 160/0 and a stock Garrett turbo. Now that turbo, if you watch the update series on this truck, I do have a Riff Raff diesel billet wheel in it, so it's not 100% stock, but it's pretty close. Aside from that, both trucks are running e-fuel. They're both a homebrew kit that was made by the same person. Both of them utilize a stock Super Duty electric fuel pump. Both of them are intercooled. Both of them run a 6637 filter kit. Both of them have a 6-liter intercooler. Both of them are 5-speed. So some definite similarities there. As far as this red truck goes, there are issues with the gauges. And this is kind of a tale of two different people's experience with glow shift. I've got glow shift gauges in that white truck. I have never had an issue with them. Knock on wood. They have been dead nuts reliable. Not a single issue. This truck has the same glow shift gauges in them, and they're all messed up. You'd be driving along and they just go haywire and go in all directions. Even the boost gauge isn't reliable. There's a little fix needed there. So this one needs some work as well. To be 100% reliable, it would need gauges. It needs the windows worked on. Needs a good cleaning. Another difference between these two trucks, this one has carpet. The white truck has a rubber floor, and I love the rubber floor. It's so much easier to clean up when I can take a wet rag or a hose to it and just clean it up. The big issue with the red truck here is right over here. It's got a coolant issue. It's using some coolant. I have not had time to dig into it yet, but reportedly that coolant is ending up under the valve covers. But oddly enough, not in the crankcase. The guy that I got this from was very forthright and very honest. Like I said, he's a good friend of mine. He told me of his issue. He said that if you pull the valve covers, you'll find moisture under them. That it looks milky and murky on the bottom side of the valve cover, but that the heads look good, and that he could never find any coolant whatsoever in the crankcase. And that has been my experience as well. I have opened the crankcase on this and drained a little bit of the fuel, or I'm sorry, of the oil into a glass container, and I've let it settle after the truck has been sitting for days, and I have not had any water separation. So I'm at a little bit of a loss for this one. Cap looks pretty good. I don't see any issue there. I want to say that he said most of the moisture that he found was under the driver's side valve cover. So clearly on this one, a pressurized coolant test is the way to go. I need to finish up on these other trucks, get this one stripped down, get the intercooler pipes and some things out of the way here so I can pull the valve covers, then pull the glow plugs and run a pressure test on the coolant system. If it is losing coolant into the combustion cylinders, which is kind of the speculation, that because of the hot setup on this one and the fact that it doesn't have head studs yet, that it may have lifted its head slightly. If that is the case, then I should be able to track the coolant down. It'll either end up in a combustion chamber, coming out the top of the head someplace, or it'll end up in the crankcase. So that is yet to be done. That's probably something that I'll either take care of here prior to selling the truck, or I'll just be real honest with whoever it is that buys it and let them know that that's the issue. Likely I will deal with that myself. I've got another engine here that is in good condition that I could easily swap in here if there's a serious issue with the engine. If it's just a lifted head, I would be real tempted to pull one of the heads off, pull both of them off, have them checked, tested, flattened if need be, reseal them, put some studs in this thing and send it on down the road once I see that it's not losing coolant anymore. So that's something that I'm probably going to do either way. Once again, I'm torn on these two. Just for running around empty, well, that truck really shines. For road trips, this one's the way to go. It has such long legs on the highway, and it is so comfortable at highway speeds. It's just rolling. It just rolls along at 70, 75, 80 miles an hour, no problem. With the 410s in the red truck, 75 feels like you're abusing it. Now you're cranking 26, 2700 RPMs, really winding it out. Whereas on this white truck, you're at about 2200 RPMs at 72, something like that. It's just rolling along happy as can be. Of course, the downside to that is, with this truck, you're a little under the turbo at that speed. For hauling a real heavy load, it suffers a little bit because you're down on RPMs. This red truck has got all the power it needs to tow whatever you got behind it at whatever speed you want to go. It has no problems whatsoever getting on down the road. But just seems like you're working it a little harder to do so because you're spinning so many more RPMs. To be honest, the white truck appeals to me because of the very reason that I built it the way that I did. The big difference between these two trucks is that when you go from stage 1 to stage 2, or really anything above stage 2, things get a bunch more expensive. This white truck, if I've got an issue with the clutch, I looked before I got on here, I can get on Rock Auto right now and order a complete clutch kit from Luke through Rock Auto with the single mass flywheel, the pressure plate, and the clutch disc for $252.79. That's the whole thing. Everything I need. That is the clutch that I'm running in that truck and have been all along. It has never slipped on me. I've never had an issue with it. As hard as I've run that truck, towing all of these trucks home, towing whatever I wanted to behind that, thrashing on this thing with the tunes turned up, I've never once had that stock replacement Luke clutch slip. This one, he had all kinds of problems with the clutch. Finally, to get a clutch to hold, he is running a South Bend dual disc clutch in this thing. And it's a nice clutch. But if you have to replace it, that's an $1,800 expense. So $250, $1,800 for the clutch. Turbo wise, if I need to replace that S356, what are those running right now? About $650, $700. You can get a totally new turbo. You could send it in and have it rebuilt. You could, but for a total replacement, you're looking at $600, $700. This one, I can rebuild it for less than $200. For $150, I can get a brand new, not brand new, but a new used one in good working order. I've got a little bit more than that in it in the turbo wheel, so you're maybe looking at $300-400 by the time it's all said and done. But still, that's something I can get out of a junkyard just about anywhere in the country. So this one has the chance to be a little bit more reliable in my opinion, and if it would happen to go down, I can get parts for it just about anywhere. Reliability wise, I'll be honest, once you turn a truck up as high as this one's turned up, I feel like they start to suffer a little bit in terms of reliability. And that was the previous owner's experience with this truck. He had issues with it. He had all kinds of clutch issues. I think he told me he's had the transmission out of this truck 9 times since he put this truck together, for clutch issues, for transmission issues. It's just been kind of a never-ending saga for him. That white truck, knock on wood, I put that thing together, and aside from an oil cooler and fixing a couple little oil leaks, I've not done anything but basic maintenance. It just runs and it just works, which is kind of what I build it for. These are not show trucks for me. These trucks are tools. I enjoy them immensely. Doesn't mean I don't want to keep them nice, but they're built to work. It's just an old work truck, as a friend of mine would say. So those are kind of my thoughts. This one's kind of built up just to be pretty much exactly what I want it, and to be honest with you, I'm kind of leaning towards keeping that one and selling the dually. So, I don't know, post your comments, your thoughts below. Let me know what you think. What would you do? That dually is one mean looking truck. It is definitely a good looking truck. It definitely performs well. I don't fault it for that. But all things considered, I still kind of think the white truck is what I want. Let me know your thoughts. And if you enjoy these videos, if you want to see more Powerstroke stuff, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you'd like to see in the future. You want to go for a ride in both these trucks? What do you want to see? What do you want more of this dually? What would you like to see in the future? So that's it for now. This video is about long enough, but those are my thoughts at this point. We'll be back in here with a little bit more comparison at a later date. Thanks for watching.